Hey everybody, this is Doug Kenny here from Are You Relentless and Unstoppable? Today we have Trans Am driver Chris with us. Hey man, how you doing?
Hi, Doug.
We're pleased to have you on. Give our followers a bit of what you're known for.
Well, my name is Chris Dyson. I'm from New York, and I've been racing for more than 20 years professionally. For the last four seasons, I've been racing in the Trans Am Series by Pirelli, and I'm the defending champion.
That is incredible. So we start these with a question, which is what was your upbringing like?
Oh, my upbringing was exciting. I was exposed to a lot of really wonderful things as a child. I was surrounded by incredible mentors, inspirational figures. Truly a privileged upbringing, and I'm so grateful for that. I grew up in a small town about 80 miles north of Manhattan in Dutchess County, New York. It's a great place to grow up. All kinds of characters. Went to one of the bigger public schools in the area, one of the best schools in New York State. Had an absolutely great time there. Was a student athlete, and went to college. Had started doing some racing in high school. I was a pretty accomplished athlete in sports. I played baseball and basketball as a young kid, and I think my folks would have been quite happy if I'd followed that path all the way through. But I'd been exposed to racing, being surrounded by cars, and obviously my dad has been competing before I was born, so yeah, it was only natural that I would gravitate to it, I think. And started karting in high school, started going car racing when I was in latter part of college. So relatively late start, especially by modern standards, but it's been a great run, and I've been well supported the whole way.
That is really cool, man. So who's in the Trans Am series alongside you?
Well, we've got a lot of experienced and accomplished drivers who have appeared in the series. This year, I'm primarily competing against Tommy Dreese. Tommy finished second in the championship last year. He's been racing in the series since the late '90s. He's a champion and a multiple-time race winner. Hugely experienced. We're joined pretty regularly by Boris Said, who is probably known to a lot of your listeners. Boris, again, tremendously accomplished driver. And we've had Paul Menard race with us the first few races. Paul had a distinguished NASCAR career. He retired a couple years ago, and he's come back to racing in Trans Am. There's a theme of past champions, past great drivers coming into the series. And everyone says it's because these are the most exciting cars they'll race anywhere. Additionally, we've got past champions. Amy Ruman is in the series full time, and Wally Dallenbach Jr., who was a legend when I was a kid growing up. I mean, I just can't believe he's out there, but he can still wheel. And we've got quite a few other drivers. David Pinteric is a multiple national champion, and we've got quite a few drivers who are slotted to come in, and it's a tussle every single weekend when these 850 horsepower monsters are let loose.
That is incredible. It seems like it's a popular series on the rise, is it?
Well, it's come back. I mean, it's interesting. Trans Am is probably one of the most historically significant series. In terms of name recognition, I don't know if I fully appreciated it. I mean, I'd known the Trans Am as a kid growing up. Always wanted to race there, but it's got amazing brand equity. It of all the racing series I've competed in, it's the one where you say it and people instantly know what it means. It's like saying you're an IndyCar driver or you're a NASCAR driver. You say you're a Trans Am driver, I don't know what it awakens in people, but it's you're over your 50-year, 60-year history. And the cars are still a straight line, the DNA going back to kind of the series founding. And it's had good leadership the last few years. Tony Parella has, I think, created lightning in a bottle by grabbing hold of the Trans Am Series and the SVRA and fusing them, kind of creating these exciting speed tour events where you've got the modern, incredible on-track battles in Trans Am and a TA2 category, alongside some tremendous vintage events that have a lot of date equity and a lot of following. So you go to these weekends and you get to see a lot of variety. You get to see lots of different and interesting cars, and you see it. I mean, you see the love for the series. I mean, the I think the viewership is up. Certainly from an online standpoint, the interest is there massively. It's like it's never gone away. I think it's like every series in North America and road racing, they have their ups and downs. But with Trans Am, I think the cars are just so spectacular. The racing is so good. It just naturally draws people to come and watch it.
That is really incredible. So, how many races have you won?
So, in the Trans Am series, I think I've won 16 races, 15 national races, and one regional races. Oh, sorry, one regional race over the last 4.5 years.
That's really cool. Have you raced in other series?
I have. I had a pretty extensive endurance racing career. That was really, I think, where I made my name. Started in late 2001, and I raced prototype sports cars from 2001 really up until 2014. I did a little bit of competition in the World Endurance Championship as well. I've raced at the 24 Hours of Le Mans, and I've done some GT racing in the Pirelli World Challenge with the Bentley program. We've had a lot of success kind of everywhere we've gone. I wasn't road racing for about a 2.5 year period, and during that time, I actually got to go back to my roots, and I was racing ovals with sprint cars and Silver Crown cars and midgets. So I've been exposed to a lot of great racing and a lot of different sort of arenas, and I just love it. It still gets my blood pumping. It still energizes each and every day of my life. I'm very, very grateful for it.
That's really cool. What struggles did you overcome to become the champion you are?
That's a good question. I think for me, I was kind of catapulted into a very high category of racing, admittedly ahead of my experience level. And I had a lot of catching up to do. And my rookie year, I ran in the Rolex Grand Am series in the prototype category. And I missed the championship actually by 2 points. And I remember being quite bummed about that because there were a few mistakes, but they were rookie mistakes. But the spotlight was on me right from the get-go, and I didn't mind it. I think that you have to want that. You have to want that level of expectation. I was, stepping into, our family team, which had been winning championships throughout the 90s. The car was proven. I was surrounded by spectacular performing drivers. It was stand and be counted really from the outset. And I hadn't done probably anything near the level of racing that a lot of my peers and certainly a lot of the people I was competing with. And there was a lot of on the fly learning to do. I had great support. I had great equipment, but it was getting my skills and my experience kind of ramped up at a exceptionally steep learning curve and trying to succeed in the limelight. And, naturally you're going to fail in situations like that, but I'd like to think that I succeeded more than I failed. And I learned a lot from when we came up short. And I think that built the basis and the grit and the determination in me to stay after it and to keep fighting to a level that I think just winning it from the outset might not have. Naturally my career's going on for, more than 20 years of my life. And, a lot happens, a lot changes in your life in that span. I mean, I started out, it was basically just outside, not too long after college. I was single. I've got a family now, 4 children. So the arc of my life has changed considerably in the intervening period. And I think just naturally coping with time, coping with age, obviously with some injuries, wear and tear on your body, and just still trying to stay fit and focused and prepared. And I think as time has gone on, particularly last year, winning the championship, just kind of transcending a lot of the outside challenges the world has thrown up the last few years. This has not been a really normal time, and just having that, being able to keep that sanity and that perspective away from the track, but being able to bring it back and ultimately deliver during the race weekends. It took a lot of resiliency and a lot of determination and focus, but that's why we do this. We do this because it takes you to a different place. It takes you to a different level. And it's that feeling, I think, that keeps everybody who's in racing coming back to it. So the struggles, I think anybody can say struggles. A lot of people have struggled to get here. And it's, I'm not going to sit here and say that, I struggled any more than the next guy. But I think at the end of the day, the stopwatch doesn't care about your struggles. You still have to go out there and perform. And I think that that's one of the most important things to remember, is that I think whether it's racing or any other sport, you've got to perform. And as an athlete, as a sportsman, it's important to compartmentalize anything else that's going on off the track. And when that helmet goes on, those gloves go on, that's all there is.
Yeah, I know what you mean. So, what was winning the championship like?
Well, it was terrific. It had been a while in the making. I mean, we'd been racing in the series for 3 straight years, and we finished third my rookie year, second the following year, and then third the next year. And in each occasion, I think we lost the championship, if I'm honest, as much down to the car and reliability as down to me as a driver. We never lost a championship because we weren't fast enough or we weren't consistent enough. But to finally put together a season that I think reflected the effort and the team's true skills, and for me to just fuse a lot of the lessons that I'd learned about the cars, the tracks, the series, it was very satisfying. And it felt like, you're not owed anything in this sport. You got to work for every inch. But it was definitely great to get that monkey off our back, because our whole reason for going racing is to win races and to win championships. So I'm not going to say the pressure was mounting, but I think if we hadn't won it last year, it would have been pretty frustrating. Some might say we were due. I think we were just finally delivering what we probably should have done from the beginning. And, better late than never.
Definitely. So, what are your hopes for this year?
Well, the hopes are to duplicate last year's success and build on it. And we've started off with the season started at Sebring in March. We won that race, and we've had 2 races since. We had a race at Charlotte. We were running second. We had a tire problem, ended up in the wall, and rallied. The team just completely came back last week, and we won at Road Atlanta. Stood on the podium and sprayed champagne, and we're leading the points as we head into our 4th round, which is next month, down out on the West Coast. So it's just keeping the motivation, it's keeping the focus, and it's never taken anything for granted. There's one thing about the Trans Am series: it's known to throw up drama, and you've got a lot of drivers out there with a lot of experience who have great teams and cars. So we're on top, and we want to stay on top.
I know exactly what you mean, and that's what makes you relentless and unstoppable.
Well, that's the way you got to play it. You can never give up. You've got to just keep digging. You can always do better. That's one of the lessons that one of my great mentors, James Weaver, would always say.
That's really cool, man. So we look forward to hopefully seeing you hoist the championship trophy for the 2nd straight year.
Thanks, Doug. That's the plan.
No problem. We're glad you came on, and we're grateful you came on.
Well, have a great weekend.
You too. And where can people find you?
Well, you can follow me on Twitter at Chris Dyson 16. You can follow the Dyson Racing team at Dyson Racing Team on Instagram, Dyson Racing on Twitter, and I'm also on Instagram as Christopher Dyson.
That's really cool. Everybody, please check out and support him and the race team. What's your race team?
CD Racing.
Cool. And everybody, let's give him a round of applause. And we'll see you next week for the next episode of Relentless and Unstoppable.